Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Can you all hear me? Can you hear me? Great. Okay, thank you everybody for joining. Okay, thank you all. My name is Simi, and today I figured obviously there's a new update for those who don't know about the caregiver immigration pathway. And today I just want to for us to look through this and see, what the changes are, who's eligible, and just to break things down a little bit further. So yes. I'm going to share my screen, and I hope you guys can also see it. Okay. I hope you can all see this. So let's look at the home child care provider, the immigration Canada Caregiver Immigration Pilot Program that is opening up March 31st. So we go on here to see. I know there's been maybe a little bit of disappointment on some end to some extent for those who are outside of Canada, because this stream, we know that now it promises obviously PR upon arrival, but we were not sure initially what that meant for in terms of the modalities of those who are outside, those who are inside in Canada, whether they'll be eligible to apply. So on Wednesday, I believe, immigration brought out this new update, and I'm sure they probably had been seeing a lot of people going outside and saying all sorts of sorts with regards to the pilot program. So we have a little bit more update. There's still a lot of things that are unclear, and which is why it's important that you guys do not make drastic decisions and you're paying a lot of amount of money just to secure job offers. It's very important that you understand what exactly immigration is looking, IRCS is going to be looking at come March 31st, and what's the eligibility requirement for yourself. There's still a lot of details that are missed when it comes to the employer's perspective. So when I say the employers, how much the employer needs to make. I know there's been a lot of speculations about, the employer cannot be should eligible employers will have to make at least 90,000, 100, some will say 100,000. I'm not here to give you any information about that until we know for certain, because one thing about Canada immigration is a lot of things just tend to change. They could say one thing today, and then when the actual programs launches, you see that there's an adjustment, or there's just some criterias that nobody thought about. So we have to be careful when it comes to speculation, which is why I'm not going to talk too much about the employer's perspective. I'm just going to go into the details so that we all can see what the requirements are. So we know that the program is coming, is still opening March 31st, 2025. So we're going to read this so we understand. We're going to be going through the requirements. We understand what streams will be opening. We know now that there's two categories of streams that will be open under this home care worker immigration pilot. I should also say that this home care worker is also for two different NOC codes, and that's the home child care, and then the home support worker, right? So it's going to be for these two immigration pilots program, these two streams, these two NOC codes. I mean, so two NOC codes under this pilot is what we're going to be looking at. Anything outside of the NOC codes, what's eligible under the NOC codes, I do not think that it will be applicable. So please know that in order for you to qualify, your job offer, your job description has to be tailored to those who are nurturing children, or your employer, those who are nurturing children, those who are providing supports for seniors and persons living with disability. We'll look straight into the what the employer perspective, like the job agencies, what they say, who they say is going to be eligible under these sectors. So first things first is this is opening March 31st, and under this pilot program, there will still be becoming eligible candidates will be becoming permanent residents as long as they meet the requirements, right? We know that there will be two streams now based on what immigration is saying: people who are working in Canada and people who are not working in Canada. So for those who are working in Canada, this does not include students. It's explicitly stated here that you have to be a worker in Canada. So whether you're a postgraduate work permit holder, whether you're an open work permit holder, maybe you have a spouse that is studying, and you as a spouse, you will have an open work permit, you will be eligible under you'll be under this workers category, right? Those who are under spousal open work permit. So if you've submitted a spousal sponsorship and your spouse, you've gotten your open work permit, you would also be categorized under workers. Now, what is not clear here, like I said, there's still a lot of information that is amiss when it comes to this pathway and how it's going to operate. Because workers in Canada, we do not know. And from the past experience of when things like this open, refugee applicants, though they have work permits, are usually not eligible for things like that. Keyword eligible for things like that. They're not usually eligible for things like this. However, they may or may not, we don't know, maybe they will still be accepted under this stream, workers in Canada. So it's very important that refugees applicants, I know there's a lot of speculations and people questions around that area, if refugee workers would be eligible. And the reason is, if you're a refugee, even though you have an open work permit, you are not categorized as someone who has a valid status until your refugee claim goes through, which is why they do not, you're almost sort of in the limbo. Just because you're still claiming refugee, they still want to be able to know that you can remain in Canada, because the decision is still pending, right? So which is why the logic behind why a lot of refugee applicants may not be eligible for pathways like this. You see, even for prevention nominee programs, they will tell you specifically that refugee applicants are not, or refugee persons are not eligible for prevention nominee programs. So workers in Canada, postgraduate work permit holders, people who are working under open work permits under their spouse, you will be eligible for this. You will be categorized under workers in Canada. Now, the second stream, and I should say that this, which leads to the next paragraph, right? When the pilots open, we would only accept applications for the workers in Canada stream. So that means that on March 31st, the people who will be eligible to submit this application for this pathway is only for those that are working in Canada. Only workers in Canada will be eligible to submit an application for this pathway come March 31st. Applicants not working in Canada will still be eligible, but they will not be eligible to submit an application on March 31st. So if you're not working in Canada, so For those who are not working in Canada, we'll put them into a category: students, students, people who are out of status. There's and maybe people who are refugee claimants might fall under this category, and foreign nationals may fall under this category, because again, you can read this in two different meanings, right? You can have two different meanings for this. Applicants not working in Canada, does that mean those who are in Canada but they're just not, they don't have a work permit to work? Or does that also include foreign nationals, right? Again, like I said, there's still a lot of information that is amiss when it comes to this pathway. So I'm not going to talk too much about that, and it's going to be very difficult for people. It's going to be very sad when we see people paying for job offers without knowing whether or not they will even be eligible. Because if you think about it, so far in the past year and a half, we've been seeing that Canada is specifically focusing on cutting back on the people that are coming to Canada, right? So it's very important that even though they're looking for caregivers, people who can help support the community, labor shortages in this particular area, it still doesn't mean that they will open the doors a lot, to foreign nationals, right? Unfortunately. And I should also mention that this pathway only for the program, immigration level programs that we see, there's only about 15,000 intakes that they're planning to have from 2024 up until 2026. Obviously 2024 is done, so 2025, 2026, it seems that it's going to be only 7,500 intakes they're planning to take. How they're going to divide it between workers in Canada, applicants in Canada, we still don't know that yet. But it's just to tell you that they're going to select just those who are needed. So whether or not this will involve foreign nationals, again, I don't even know myself, but I know that what I know is that Canada is trying to cut down on the amount of people they're bringing into Canada, and this pathway is not an exception. That's why we see that a lot of pathways have been, showing this, has been following in the footsteps of Canada, trying to cut down on on nationals, foreign nationals from coming into Canada. So with that said, applicants not working in Canada, those could include anybody, those who are here without status, students, refugee claimants, foreign nationals. But then again, we'll wait to see what happens. There is no date as to when that intake is going to happen, so we'll still have to wait to find more information about that. And as you can see, they specifically stated that if you're a home care worker without no, not the section, if you've not let's see, if you're not working in Canada, this is specific to those not working in Canada, do not start preparing your application. We will share more details about the applicants not working in Canada stream when they become available. This is very key, because for immigration to say this, they see that a lot of people, and thankfully March is a month of fraud awareness. They see that a lot of people have been duped, fraudulent activities under the streams, people paying job offer $10,000, $20,000, only for you to get a job offer, and then you realize that you're not even eligible to apply. So please and please stay informed. Do not take drastic measures. I'm going to talk about some of the things that you can do right now for those who are in Canada, those who are outside of Canada, if it would be applicable to you. Again, I don't know how for those who are outside Canada, but you can still do some things pending the time there's a decision or there's more information about those who are not working in Canada. So that's that. So I'm just drawing out. So please be aware of people who tell you that enroll in preparatory course for caregivers, all of those things, and then they promise you jobs. Please and please and please verify the source. Make sure that you're not paying ridiculous amount just to be scammed, because a lot of that is happening, and it will be so sad. Again, remember that you can also get a ban for misrepresenting information, a 5 years ban that cannot be disputed. Once immigration sees that you have engaged in fraudulent activities, you're playing with a ban, basically, right? So you want to be careful with that. So yeah, let's go back. So applicants not working in Canada, applicant workers in Canada, all of that, we've talked about that. Now, let's read about that. These new pilots will build on the successes of the previous ones to better make the changing home care needs of Canadians while recognizing the importance of the workers providing this care. Some of the things that we know that you're going to get is the new pilots will offer a one-step immigration process for home care workers and their family members. Qualified home care workers will get permanent residence without needing, keyword here, needing Canadian work experience in the occupation first. So in the past, we had two different categories for the stream, the temporary pilot that was open as of last year, that ended in June last year. They had two categories: those who didn't have experience and those who had direct experience, right? So there was the gaining experience category for those who are not who do not have Canadian experience, to be able to come into Canada and then get your 1 year, which was later changed to 6 months experience, and then process your PR application. Again, how they intend to provide, and this is one thing about IRCC, right? Because they never come forward to say everything all at once. They just give you little bits of piece information here and there, here and there, here and there. And then later on, when the official, my greatest fear is that we won't get to know a lot more details until maybe like a week to the program opening. That is my greatest fear, because it's something immigration can do. Because I'm not sure why. I don't know why they're giving this piecemeal information. Just let us know what we need to expect, and let's start working on it. But here we are. This is what we see, and we just have to go with it. So, how they're going to roll out the PR pathway, giving it one time, one step, we still don't know. But I know that one thing that you do need is that even though you do not need in Canada work experience, you still need to have a recent relevant work experience or have completed a credential of at least 6 months of related home care training. I know a lot of times that when people do this program, to be able to do it, maybe they completed 120 hours to 200 hours. But for you to be eligible, either you can show that you have 6 months of work experience, or you have completed at least 6 months related home care training. The good thing about it is that for those who have completed this in Canada or outside of Canada, you didn't, for those who are in Canada, you didn't need to have a study permit, right? Because IRCC says that if you do complete a program that is 6 months or less, you do not need a study permit. So, which is a good thing. And I hope that the people that are in Canada that have this experience, either they have this experience, relevant work experience, or they have at least 6 months of related home care training and certificates, so to speak. The other thing that I would say is also not clear is with regards to this work experience, there's nothing to tell us how long the experience should have been. So whether it's um should you have gotten the 6 months work experience within the past year, within the past 2 years, within the past 3 years, that is not clear. But all we know is you need to have relevant work experience, whatever that means. Actually, in full flesh, we actually is still quite confusing for me. Okay, another thing is you also need to have a full-time job offer in a home care within Canada. Now, let's talk about the home care, where the job offer could come from. In the past, right, and I'll just make this quick distinction. In the past, you needed to have a job offer from just private individuals. It couldn't be agencies, it couldn't be companies, home care recruitment agencies, and all of that. It had to have been with individual, like households, people that are in a home had to have been the ones to give you a job offer to say, hi, this is, we need someone in our home to take care of our child, to help with home duties, things like that. But now the difference, which is a good thing, is that the home care work worker can work where they're needed. Your job offer can be from private households, which is individuals. So your brother, your sister could hire you, your cousin, your nephew, whatever it is, they could hire you. Organizations that directly hire full-time workers to provide short-term or occasional home care for those who are semi-independent or recovering from injury or illness. For example, I'm glad they gave us this. For example, home health care service providers, home care support service providers, direct care agencies, personal care service in residential settings, pediatric home health care providers. So if you have employer or job offer from any one of these kind of agencies, not recruitment or placement agencies, we do not know none of that, but home care providers, people who have registered and say that this is what they do. You can be employed in a home care agency, and they just place you in different homes. Those kind of providers, right? Because that's what they do. They're eligible to give you a job offer. The job offer has to be full time, like it says here. It cannot be part time. It has to be full time. Another thing, though, that is not clear, like, to jump back to this relevant work experience for those who are in Canada, is also it's not clear for those who are students and I've gotten postgraduate work permits. Whether and I know that some people have worked part time and as a personal support worker in different homes. It's not clear whether those kinds of experiences can qualify as can show as relevant work experience, because in the past, like I said, when it comes to students, their work experience as a student does not count towards their in Canada work experience. That whatever their work when they're submitting their express entry PR applications, the work experience has to have been gained under work permits, like postgraduate work permits in most cases, right? So you couldn't count experience gained while studying. But in this situation, I'm not sure, we're not sure whether students who have gained work experience while studying could use that to show that they had relevant work experience. I suppose that it should be okay, because at the end of the day, you just need to show that you have relevant work experience. You want them to meet that category of ability to do the job, right? So it will be shocking to find out that that's not the case, and it will be a bit of a bummer for those who are students and are looking forward to this pathway. So, private households. For those who are private households, please keep in mind that you also need to get a business number, right? You need to call CRA if you have an employer that is a family friend, a family friend, a family member, and who is looking to employ you. Make sure that they call CRA to give you to get a CRA number. CRA will ask you what your business number is for, and they just simply have to state that it's for domestic, to be able to hire a home care worker or a child care worker, and then you get your business number. Also, make sure that if you're showing relevant experience, please make sure that you have proof of payment, right? That they're paying you the required amount of money that they need to pay you for that month, for that, whether it's hourly, whether it's monthly. Just make sure that they meet that requirements. So if they have to file taxes, if you have to file taxes, things like that will be things that you would need to show your relevant experience, right? So organizations that hire, so I've briefly talked about that. Now let's talk about who is eligible. Applicants interested in working in Canada's home care sector will be eligible to apply when the pilots open if they have a minimum of a level 4 in English, which is relatively easy to achieve. Do either an IELTS or a CELPIP, gain a CLB level 4 in English or in French. Have a Canadian high school diploma, which is the lowest, education that is required. If you have higher, you can do it. Now, I would say for those who are in Canada, but they have gain their education outside of Canada, one thing you need to do is to get your education assessed. This is the one that could take a while. We're already in March 1st. So if you're looking to apply, utilize this platform, this pathway, then you want to make sure that you've already gotten your ECA already in process, in the works. Otherwise, you could, yeah, I think you can deduce what could happen. You may not be eligible to apply for this pathway if you don't have that ECA evaluation ready. You'll need to have at least 6 months of recent and relevant risk experience or related caregiver training credential. So 6 months of experience is what you need and what you need to provide. And if you don't have that work experience, then you need to show that you have a certificate in training in that related field, right? And that's how you say. So also I was mentioned that for those who are looking to apply, also get your first aid, CPR, all of those things are things that can also show your ability to do the job. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you need either the recent work experience or a training credential to fulfill that requirement. Then you need to have an offer for a full-time home care job to be eligible. And we know in the past, for those who are in applying for this caregiver, they've never needed an LMI. It's always been LMI exempt. So good thing is still LMI impact assessment is not required. So for those who might not know, LMI is basically labor market impact assessment, and it's for those who are looking to apply for this part for a job. So for foreign nationals who are looking to get an employer to sponsor them, your employer would need to send an application to Employment Service Development Canada to state that they couldn't find a Canadian, they couldn't find a foreign or permanent residents to do the job, and they need a foreign national who is able to do the job and meets all the requirements. And then they will approve you, and then you will be able to apply for work permit. But in this case, we don't need to go through that. And usually in that for those kind of people, those kind of work employers, you would need to also do like a job ad for like 30 days and show that you tried to interview Canadian citizens and they couldn't give they met the requirements. So but it's nice to see that that's not the requirement, and even for this pathway, because it would have been a hassle. That would have been the greatest challenge, because employers usually do not like to go through that stress. So the fact that that's not a requirement, that's really great to see. And like I said, it's not been a requirement in the past, so the fact that it's also still not a requirement is a good thing. So you don't need to worry about that. LMI is not required. Like we said, we'll update our website with the full eligibility criteria before the pilots open. Yeah, well, we'll see. So for those who have previously applied, that ended with the pilot, those who applied for the pilot program that ended June 17, 2024, your application is still in process. Thank you for this update, IRCC. If you have not applied to the home child care, yes, you may be eligible. So those who have not applied who didn't utilize the pathway, the pilot program that ended in June 17, they're telling you guys that you have hope. And then if you're a home care worker without status in Canada, you may be eligible for the other non-workers stream that will open later. So it says you may still be eligible for the home care worker under a public policy. A limited number of spots will be available, but we don't have anything yet. So for those who are working in Canada, if you're currently working in Canada, you can take the language test. So they basically tell you the things to do to prepare if you're hoping to use this pathways. And I would just pause here. If anyone has any questions about this pathway, because after this I'm going to be done, so I can take questions. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat box and I can answer them as we go along, right? And maybe in the next session that I would do, so I try to come back to do live sessions the more information that we get. But I'm still going to do the final live session once we have the full details, talking about your employer clear requirements, how much you need to be paid, what documents you need to prepare, how to retain our service if you need assistance with that. Keeping in mind that, like I said, this pilot is very limited, right? Only limited spots, only about 7,500. It's not a lot, which means that you have to be gathering your application documents right now. So once, hopefully, we have more details before, maybe by next week, but at least a week or two before the deadline, so that we can come back here and then talk more thoroughly, go through the wage requirement, all of that, so that you have an idea of that. So if you're currently working in Canada full time, you need to take the language test. We've already said that. You need to take either the CELPIP or the IELTS, English or French, whatever is your first language. Take that, get a minimum of CLB4, and you satisfy the language requirement. The educational assessment, you need to get your ECA evaluation done. Like I've said this before, you need to have your ECA evaluation done, because this is one thing that can take a while. So you want to make sure that you get that done. And if you have multiple degrees, you only need to assess your highest level of education. So for those who have a master's, you need to assess just your master's degree. For those who have two, maybe a diploma and a bachelor's degree, you need to then assess, if you have like a postgraduate diploma, like, I mean, you need to assess both degrees, right? So because some people, the logic to that is some people would have just a diploma, some people can have a bachelor's, but it's still on the same level. So which is why you need to assess both degrees, or you can just assess your bachelor's, um uh, which is also good enough. But I would encourage you to assess both degrees. So that's that. So that's that on everything. I would also say that additional things that you could do is to get your police report done. So if you've lived in any country for more than 6 months, you do need a police certificate. So it's very important that you get those police record, police certificates, police clearance, get that done. You can also add that to vulnerability check as well. You also can add that to that. But those are the major things that you can do right now. Um, Obviously, in addition to make sure that you have a job offer and your employer meets the criteria as to whether they're home care, healthcare service, direct care agencies, all of those things, and they're able to support you with the application, right? So, yeah, that's it. That's all that I have in terms of the update. Any questions? I will take questions right now. Okay, someone is asking, will someone be eligible if you're about to get employment from a private household? Yes. Yes. So like I said, this is one of the requirements, right? Private household, you can definitely get employment offer from individuals, from those who are in a home. They just need to make sure that they register as a business, right? So call CRA and let them, Canada Revenue Agency, and ask for a business number that allows them to be able to employ a home care worker or a child care worker or home support worker. Okay. Any other questions? Questions, or something you need to share, your clarification, whatever it is. Can my employer who is on work permits qualify? That's a very good question, Joke Larry. I would just pin that. So someone is asking, so can my employer who is on work permits qualify? So like I said earlier on, there's no specific details as to the employer right now. So that's something that IRCC will have to come back and clarify, right? Because whether or not the employer needs to be a citizen or a PR holder is not clear. Yeah. So that's something that honestly I can't give you a direct answer to that, but hopefully IRCC can come and give us more information as to the employer eligibility requirements. She has an agency, but she isn't a citizen or a PR. Yeah, I don't suppose that should be a problem, to be honest. But again, um yeah, I might have to find more on that, find out more information on that to see if that's possible. But I don't see why, off the top of my head, I don't see why that will be a problem. She has an agency, but she isn't a citizen or a PR holder. Is our business properly registered? I guess that would be my question. Is the business properly registered in terms of CRA, federal registration or provincial registration? Because that will also be one of the requirements that I could think of that she needs to be able to show, paying her taxes, her business taxes, all of that. So that's something that maybe you want to ask your employer if. So regardless, so somebody said, please, let me see. So I'm trying to pin the comments so that the questions so that other people can also please relating to police report. Do I need both Nigeria and Canada report? You do not need Canada reports because Canada already has a way. When they're ready, they will ask for police reports for Canada. But you need, if you want to get it, it doesn't hurt anything. um but you do need a report from Nigeria. Yes, you would need a police report from Nigeria to show that you're good. Your criminal record is clear. You meet the criminal admissibility requirements. So yes, you would need that. But for Canada, like I said, if you want to be proactive, you can get it. There's nothing stopping you from having it. So in fact, I've told some of my clients that just get whatever you can get. Vulnerability check, Canada report, just get it, put it there. It won't hinder your application. So yeah. But since they attended to those in Canada first, do we still need police clearance certificate from Nigeria? Joken, I'm not sure where you are from. Are you in Canada or outside of Canada? Because that would also, let me pin this comment because I don't want it to disappear. Since they're attended, yes. So Joke, I would like to know where exactly you are because you say you have someone who gives you T4. So if you're in Canada, do you already have a work permit? Are you working in Canada? If you already have your T4 and you're working in Canada, you still need to have your Nigerian police report, especially because you have sorry, I keep seeing questions pop into, so I'm trying to stay affecting my train of thought. Anyway, so you will need police clearance from certificates and from Nigeria as long as you've left Nigeria since before you were 18. You do need a police report from Nigeria. Yes, to answer your question, yes, you do. Okay. Did I miss any question before Kate pin your comment? To acid to I'm not sure, but can I use only Canadian education though I have MSc from Nigeria? Yeah, you could go ahead and do that. That's fine. You can go ahead and do that. But I also recommend you start the process of getting the ECA evaluation just because you never know when they come out with these requirements and how, if there's going to be a point factor, we don't know. But you can use, in any case, can still use your Canadian education. That's fine because the highest level of education that they need is a high school diploma anyway. So you'll be good. Any questions? Any other questions? Questions. I'm just trying to see if there's any questions from YouTube. None. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Any other questions? So if you still have further questions and you would like some more clarity on things, please send us an email at admin@citadelglobalagency.com. Like I said, we will be having another live session the moment we know that there is a more information about the eligibility requirements, the employer. Um, we would come on live and discuss more on that. Okay. Someone is asking, I don't have a PSW certificate yet, but currently work full term. Can I apply? So remember, one of the requirements is that you'll have to have relevant work experience. I'll repeat the question again. I don't have a PSW, so PSW is personal support worker certificate yet, but currently working full term. Can I apply? Can I apply? So, yes. So if you don't have your personal support worker certificate yet, it's fine. But your immigration has said that you need to be able to show you have either relevant work experience or relevant training. And all you need for relevant experience is 6 months. So if you don't have the certificates yet, then you should have at least the 6 months of work experience to show, right? 6 months of work experience is what you will be needed. As long as you were working in that related field, then you'll be okay. You do not have to have the you don't have to have the certificate to be eligible. You can either or works. So okay. What is the requirement for a private household to be able to offer an employment? So email address somebody ask is admin, I'll pin that as well, at citadelglobalagency.com. That's the email. And you can email us there if you do have questions about the pathway, or you'd like to just book a consultation with us to discuss how to prepare for this, then you can please send us an email. The requirement for the private household to be able to offer an employment. So, like I said, I'm trying to not talk too much about the employer requirement because the program delivery instructions is not out yet. So I do not want to give details about that until we have full-fledged information that is applicable to this pathway, right? So one thing that you do need to know is that your employer has to show, depending on what's field, what agent, what placement, what agency that this employer is dealing with, whether it's home, childcare, or support worker, they need to have a business number one, right? They need to have a business number. So they need to call CRA. They need to get that business number. They need to also show that they can pay your applicable fees, right? Whether it's for home support worker or for childcare, they need to show that they are able to meet that requirement. If it's for childcare, they need to show that they have kids, right? So, and be able to show birth certificate of the children that you intend to take care of. If it's for um elderly, it's private home, but if it's for elderly, they need to show that there's someone in the household that is in need of some kind of medical that is medically unable to stand or to help themselves. They're semi-independent and they need a home care worker, to be able to home support worker to be able to assist them. So they need to have that. They need to be able to provide you with a full-time job offer, right? So that's one thing, few things that I can talk about with regards to the employer. In terms of how much they need to be earning, I would leave that for another video. I will talk more about that once we have the program delivery instructions, or I can just come back. Yeah, once we have the program, ideally, I would want to wait until we have the program delivery instructions before coming back to do another live video on this matter. Okay. Can I use a Nigerian healthcare caregiver certification I obtained in 2022? Yes, as long as you had, it doesn't say, the good thing about this, it doesn't say where you have to have gotten the training credential, and doesn't say how long you it should have been. So yes, to your question, as long as the certificate is, you enrolled in a program that was at least 6 months. You enrolled in a program that was at least 6 months. That's what matters. Because other than that, you would then be jeopardizing your, you will be, yeah, you will not meet the eligibility requirement. So you have to make sure that the program that you did was at least 6 months in length for the training, for the certificates that you obtained, and you can use it. It doesn't say that it has to be in Canada. You can use it. I'll be 5 months by 31st of March. Yeah. So for you, 12.5, you can go ahead and use. So if you don't have the 6 months work experience, then you can use the certificate that you obtained to meet the eligibility requirements. Okay. Any further question? So for those who might be wondering, I do have my Instagram on here because I'm live on Instagram, and just to be able to answer some questions, that's why I'm looking that way. So just in case anyone is wondering, but yes. So if there are no more questions, like I said, if you do have questions in the future, please send us an email at admin@citadelglobalagency.com. And then I'm just going to put that here as well. admin@citadelglobalagency.com. And if you have questions, we can answer that. 12.56, please just send us an email so that we can discuss more about how this could work. Also, another thing I should point out is your experience does not, there's nothing that says that these 6 months had to have been cumulative. That's another thing that just comes to mind. There's nothing that says that these 6 months had to have been. So if you've obtained 1 month in another place, in your home, in your country of residence, you might be able to actually still use that. So that's a tip, provided immigration does not, IRCC doesn't come and say something else. But for now, this, it just says I have at least 6 months of recent and relevant work experience. So the work experience could have been gotten in a different place. It doesn't have to be cumulative, so you might be able to use it. Okay. I foresee that this is where we'll have a problem with a lot of prospective candidates, right? The ability to show that they have 6 months of recent relevant work experience or related caregiver training credential. That training credential, I think, would be the problem, because a lot of times people do these programs and it's only for, like I said, 3 months, 2 months, 4 months in this person's case, and they're not able to meet the requirement. So it's going to really be only for those who have gotten maybe a 1 year, 8 months program, PSW, um, or another program, 6 months, that will be eligible. I foresee that this is where it's going to be a bit tricky if you don't have that recent work experience. But anyways, okay, so that's it for today. If we don't have any questions, I would just like to say thank you all for joining. I hope you found this as helpful. If you please feel free to share this video, save it, rewatch it. We're going to have this on YouTube, so that you guys can go ahead and rewatch it and share with your family and friends. Like I said, if we do have, when we have more information about everything, when we have the program delivery instructions, we'll be back on again to talk about it and to go through with eligible candidates and talk about how to prepare and how to package your application. Last thing is, please refrain from trying to get a job offer, especially for those who are outside of Canada, because you do not have more information right now to work with. I know a lot of people, I should also say, is that some people now with visitors visa are probably intending to come into Canada and apply for this pathway. There's nothing wrong with that, but keep in mind that for this stream that is opening March 31st, it's specific to those that are workers in Canada. Those who are not working in Canada, which would also be those who might be outside of, let me see, what does I want to say, if you're not working in Canada, workers not working, people, applicants not working in Canada, so that could also be visitors as well, right? But the details as to how you guys will be eligible, the modalities of that is not out yet. So please and please try not to pay ridiculous amount of money just to someone who is promising heaven and earth without knowing the actual details of IRCC, because IRCC is very unpredictable, right? So you want to err on the side of caution. The little things that you can do, get the certificate. For those who are not working in Canada, some of the things that you can do is get those certificates. We already know that they will need at least 6 months work experience. So if you can start trying to accumulate that 6 months work experience, or even try to show training certificates of 6 months or a year, that's something that you can start working on, right? So that by the time the pathway opens, you might be able to play in the same field, right? If someone studied, one more question and that's it. If someone studied for 4 months and have 5 months work experience, is that okay? Unfortunately, you'll have to have 6 months work experience or 6 months of training or certificate obtained. So there's nothing here that says that you could combine both to meet the requirements, unfortunately. Okay. All right. So that's it for today. Thank you all for joining, and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned. Bye.